Alright, so first things first, me and my wife just moved into a new house, and basically we have a little 20-gallon tank right now, and we have a pretty decent little betta fish set up in here. You have to excuse all the stuff sitting around everywhere. We, like I said, just moved in, so we have a lot of work to do still here. But in the meantime, I also would like to get a couple new fish, and any new house, needs to be set up, and I figured, while we're at it, we might as well go ahead and set up this new tank here. I actually bought this thing used, so came out pretty good on the price tag with that. Now, however, it doesn't have a lid, no, filters or lights or anything like that. So this is only just the tank. So there's lots of things that come with buying a brand new tank. You want to actually make sure that you're buying a tank that has no cracks, it's not going to leak, that's fairly decent. You don't want to get something that's too crazy gross, because it's really hard to clean those tanks. There are things that I can tell you how to do to help minimize the stress of cleaning it. But all in all, it's probably just going to be where you really want to be at, and what's it worth to you, kind of. So what I'll say here is there's a few things I'm going to do today to make sure that this tank checks out, and make sure it's all going to be good before I actually put it on my shelf, because I'd rather not have anything bust on me or crack or whatever. I actually want to keep my fish around for a while. So first thing I would say is to just kind of inspect everything. Look at all your cracks, make sure all of your your silicone's still good in there, that nothing's kind of peeling up or just moving right off the bat. I'm just gonna kind of just check around, just make sure everything's good, which it seems to be pretty solid. Doesn't seem like anybody's had to do any extra patchwork for it, which means that basically these are all the original seals on it. It looks pretty good, so that looks good to me. So now what I'll say is probably the best thing to do next is just to go fill it up. You're not gonna know anything if you don't fill this thing up. The woman had told me that she had it downstairs in a basement for 2 years. So, there's a good chance that something could have been set on top of this thing or whatever, you never know. So before you get into all this extra hard labor work here, you want to go ahead and fill this thing up, so that way you know that what you're doing is actually for something, instead of just kind of spinning your wheels and doing work on something that's just going to leak on you in 5 minutes. So we'll go ahead and do that, and then we'll see where it gets us. All right, so I've brought my tank outside, because you're gonna fill it with water just to kind of test it out. You don't want it to be leaking all in your house. So this is where I'm gonna test it out at. I'm just gonna basically take my hose and put it inside here, just like so. Turn on nice. Watch the water flow. Now what I want to do is just make sure that everything's going to be filtering in there correctly. Nothing's going to be doing anything. It doesn't matter if the water's dirty. The water can be chlorified and all that stuff. And, like I said, this is not actually what your fish is going to be living in. This is just kind of a precautionary matter for you. So don't worry about if you're just putting whatever kind of water in there. It's going to help you get all these little nasty things out of here too. Like, see how all this debris still been left in here and whatnot? It's going to kind of help with that. Another thing I'll say is you want to kind of put this thing on some sort of a dry surface if you can, because that's going to help you notify if there's leaks coming from this thing. You see that? All right, so now we got this thing all filled up, and it's clean to the top, and it looks like it's holding fairly well right now. I'm gonna go ahead and take out my water here, and it's pretty much just gonna drain out. Okay. Put that off over here so I don't have any water drops over here, so I can definitely notify if everything's going correctly. Like I said, I'm just gonna let this sit in here for about an hour or so. So it's 10:35 right now. So at 11:35, we're gonna come back out here, and we're gonna see, what's kind of going on with it. Now, it is raining here, and I do have crazy dogs next door to me. So we will find out just what happens here in about. All right, guys. So it's been about an hour. It's about a few minutes over actually. So we have now been an hour, and as you can see, there is no you know, what seems to be leaking around the tank. Now this is my footprint. I did that myself, so it's not the tank. And this is actually cracking my pavement, so there is no water going on in there. And as you can see underneath, the bottom would kind of be like a more of a dark stain like my footprint there, so there is no leaking going on at the bottom either. So that's a good sign for me. That means that now I can kind of, you know, go ahead and put a little bit of TLC into this thing and feel safe about the fact that it's probably, most likely, going to hold some water. Now, I can't go ahead and guarantee that it's not going to leak, you know, in a day, a week, a month. You know, things take time to get to places, you know, when it comes to silicone. So, you know, it's kind of a crapshoot. But with this being done, I have got about an hour's worth of testing here. Typically, you're gonna find your leaks right away. I just do this as a precautionary for me, and it, you know, serves me in the long run. So we're good to go here. Okay, so we got our tank all dumped out now, and it's all free and clear of water. You know, I still have some on the outside. It's not a big deal. I'm about to clean it, so kind of helps me out to keep a little bit on there. You don't want to have to dry it out and all that stuff, because then you're just going to end up having to get it wet again whenever you use your other stuff. So I kind of want to go over the materials now of the things I'm going to be using today. And basically, you know, I'm just dealing with a few water spots and stuff where, you know, the tank was just dried out, and then it kind of, you know, left a little bit of residue here and there, and then there's a few things that are on the bottom down here. So it's not terrible, but I will kind of go through everything to kind of show you how to, you know, properly do all this stuff. My materials here are going to be just a standard rag, just so I have something to either wipe my hands off with, or, you know, just kind of wipe some of the tank off with. I'm going to have my sponges. Sponges are going to be, you know, the 2-ply type with the sponge and then the actual scrubby pad on there. That'll help get into the glass a little better. Some razor blades. I like to use these types of razor blades just because they're a little thicker. They actually have they're a little rigid, you know, they actually will contact the glass a little bit more too. You know, as you're scraping over everything. Some of the other ones you can use, it's like the more of a scraper, like for taking off like stickers and whatnot. You can use those too. I just prefer these a little better because they're just a little bit more stout, and they'll actually contact the glass a little bit more. Salt's going to be an abrasive. It's actually going to be used to help unlock a lot of the things that are in the glass without hurting your fish. It's kind of more or less, think about it as a sandpaper, if you will. It's kind of just something there just to kind of help give it some grit, so that it can grab a hold of all the excess dirt and whatnot that's on there that's just being really stubborn. It won't come off, like calciums and things of that nature. Like I said before, you've got your spray bottle, and basically just a little regular water spray bottle, and it's going to help you keep everything wet and help unlock everything a little bit, because everything tends to come off better whenever it's wet. I also have a little apple cider vinegar right here. This is just regular apple cider vinegar. All this does is it's going to help me kind of break down everything that's in there without actually having to use soap, because soap will actually hurt and or kill your fish, because it's like any pollutant that would be in our air. It's going to, you know, choke the fish and make his gills be covered in soap, and that's not good. To clean everything up, I'm going to be using these microfiber towels. Typically, I use these because it ends up getting everything off and not leaving behind a lot of, I guess, a lot of fibers, such as this rag's probably going to do. So I can probably get a lot of the hard stuff off with this rag, and then for the more fine-tuning things, I can use these microfibers here. I also have a bucket. Now, you don't have to have a lid on it. I just bought this because it had, you know, it kind of came with it, and also I'm going to repurpose this bucket to use for other fish things that I'm going to have, because it'll be a clean thing to have. So basically, during this part, I was just going through and using the sponge to take off a lot of the excess calciums and whatnot. I did add about 3 caps of apple cider vinegar to it, just to kind of help take out everything and make it look a little neater, a little cleaner. Alright, and now I've kind of gotten it to where I want it to be. So I guess I'm going to do a little bit of rinsing, I guess you'd say, to try to get some more of that apple cider vinegar out of here. If you can still smell it, it's pretty much still present. you want to kind of try to get the smell to go away. But the only way you can do that is to literally just use water. So I'll just keep spraying the inside of this tank because that's the only place that I really used it. You really don't have to be generous with this either. You can really soak it in there pretty good. Obviously, you're not going to hurt the fish tank. Once you get a good bit of water in there, then I would go to a clean microfiber. Which I'm going to get now. Here we are, a clean microfiber. So I'm just gonna literally just wipe out all this water I just put in here. And it's kind of just a push and pull thing to where you keep wiping this out of here until you get the smell gone. And then once the smell's gone, you pretty much have a clean tank. And then it's kind of up to you to how much you really want to put into cleaning this thing. I got it pretty lucky with what I had to begin with. So it wasn't as bad for me to clean this up, which I didn't really get to say anything about it, but I didn't get to use the salt this time. There wasn't anything in here hard enough and abrasive enough for me to actually have to get into it. And another thing is too, is the salt is actually pretty sharp, and you can stand the risk of scratching your glass a little bit or just doing whatever. I mean, it's an abrasive, you know, so. And I've already got a couple spots on my tank to where it looked like there might have been some micro fractures of some sort. Nothing that I have to worry about as far as cracking goes, but just more appearance style and way it looks. So with that being said, I'm just gonna leave the salt out of this time. And if it tends to come back and I need to actually do something about it, then I can just do this over again and then go with what I've got. Okay, so this is kind of a step that I take on my own. This is just to kind of make it a little bit clearer for me. Now, I'm not going to advise you to do this anywhere but the outside of your tank. Do not, I repeat, do not spray the inside of your tank with this. This is going to clean your outside glass, not the inside. If you spray the inside, you will kill your fish. This is merely just to shine the outer side of the glass. You can even do the top right here, but do not go on the inside of the glass. Now, to avoid any future use of this rag, I suggest that you throw it off, because if you start using this rag thinking it's this rag, you're gonna kill your fish. All right, and there you go. So I have now done all four sides of this with the Windex, and it looks remarkably cleaner than what it did to begin with. And that is really the goal here, is just to clean up what you got. So and I mentioned before I had a few little micro fractures in here. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about by those micro fractures. Kind of hard to spin this with one hand, but you might be able to see it. Yeah, you see this little crack right here? It's like little hairline fractures, all it is. And probably what happened here is something probably was inside the glass here and just, you know, came down and just barely scratched the surface of this. Now, it's not sharp, it's not going to hurt me, it's not going to hurt the fish, it's just merely going to be seen. However, I'm going to be putting a lot of plants in here, and it's not going to really affect me as much as, you know, somebody who's going to have this be more of a, you know, more of a show tank in the middle of the room or whatever. It's just kind of one of those things. Now, I do still have a bit of fibers in here. You can kind of see them on my finger there. And basically, I just got to get a lot of those out of here. And, you know, you can kind of rub your hand on there. Just, you want to make sure that you wash your hands before you put your hands in here, because a lot of the greases from your hands can also affect the fish. They don't like to, you know, have a lot of greasy, oily materials inside their water. That's the whole reason why you can't have soaps. That's the whole reason why you can't have things like that. The Windex, all that. So basically you just kind of have to play with it, and eventually you'll get all those out and you can fill it up, and then you should have a fully functional tank. I'm gonna probably end up making another video on actually what I do with this tank, but as far as that goes, this is a clean tank and now can be used. And I appreciate y'all watching, and I just ask that y'all like and subscribe this video and tell me how your tank turns out. Take it easy.